saw A Quiet Place.
I saw A Quiet Place.
This movie's been hyped.
This movie's been hyped. It's been audiences and critics agree they're really enjoying it. And I have to say, after seeing it, there's a lot of things it did right, and there are some things it did wrong. It's a mixed bag, but I think it's my 3 billboards, the way you reacted to 3 billboards. Like, there's some really good things in it, but there's some incredibly stupid things that suspension of disbelief becomes too heavy of a lift. So I couldn't do it towards the end. Now, I am going to give some minor spoilers because that's the only way I can talk about this movie. I won't spoil the ending, but about midway through. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie, you may want to fast forward. So here's the thing. The beginning of the movie, we're set up with the fact that there's been an alien invasion. These aliens, they track by sound, and everyone has to be quiet. Got it. Okay.
Yep. Saw that in the trailer.
Yeah. So you're not really sure exactly what happened. Like, you see like some newspaper clippings, like because the monsters are like hiding out in the woods. I'm like, well, then how did they get to the planet? Were they meteor surfing? Were they in spaceships? And that's number one. I'm like, well, how did this happen? The next thing is that the things that this movie does really well is it's really well directed, it's really well cast, and it's really well acted. So
John Krasinski directed this.
John Krasinski directed,
Okay.
and he does a really nice job. So what happens is when those things are so good, it overshadows the incredibly stupid parts of the film. So what happens is, like, Neil did a written review on the site, and he was saying, yeah, there's definitely some problems, but I overlooked them. I did not overlook them. They bothered me a fair amount. So before I get into that, I want to talk about one piece of trivia that I found really interesting that I'm very glad didn't happen. In an interview with the website /film, screenwriters Scott Beck and Brian Woods revealed that Paramount Pictures originally intended to incorporate A Quiet Place into the Cloverfield film franchise.
Oh, this was going to just be one of these weird Cloverfield add-ons?
When we were talking about the executive there about the film, it felt from the pitch that there might be a crossover, but we finally took the final script to Paramount and saw it a totally different movie. Thank God. I mean, that would have been incredibly ridiculous. So Paramount finally decided them to make the film as a wholly original standalone film. Now, one of the quotes from the writers, which I really like, is that one of our biggest fears was that the film was getting swept into some kind of franchise or repurposed for something like that. The reason I say biggest fear, we love the Cloverfield films. He had to say that. They're excellent. It's just that filmgoers crave new and original ideas, and we feel like so much of what's out there is IP. It's comic books, it's remakes, it's sequels. We show up to all of them, enjoy those movies too, but our dream was always to drop something different into the marketplace, so we feel grateful that Paramount embraced the movie as its own thing. That's a great response. Too bad there's so many stupid things in the movie. One of them is there's still electricity. That's after this invasion, and they're on a farmhouse. Clearly, they don't have a generator because that would make too much noise. So there's still electricity on the farmhouse.
Never explained where
where the electricity comes from. And you're not sure
Maybe
how far society
panels,
has collapsed. Yeah. And then there's a scene at the beginning of the film. This is, again, minor spoiler. It's a very poignant, tragic moment where, they lose a child to one of the monsters. That happens in the first couple minutes of the film. So, but then they decide what happens in a few scenes later. She gets pregnant. So what makes more noise than a baby? And I will answer that question. A toddler. So if the baby actually makes it to being a toddler, so not only would you never do that as a parent, you would be putting your other children at risk from sound hunting monsters by actually having a baby. So they create these weird ideas on how to keep the baby quiet, and it gets more and more ridiculous as we progress. The next thing was that...
And then they're like, what we need to do is make daiquiris.
Yes, exactly.
And they just start
in the
this
blender. So, all right, no, put it in the, in that little, in the comedy club bar casing. The
Give the kids symbols.
Yes. So, and then there's another scene where, she hurts herself. There's a nail sticking out. She hurts herself. She cries out. So clearly that's noise. It's going to call a monster. The monster is instantly in their house. So I'm like, no, wait a minute. If you live on a farm in a house and you know there's monsters in the woods, maybe close the door. Or maybe close the windows. I'm like, the monster it was instantly in the house. So I get that hinges creak, but you could oil them. So, and I won't ruin the ending, but the ending was also like, what? Come on, really? And one of the other things, too, is if your children are lost out in the woods with monsters running around, maybe you wouldn't leave the shotgun behind. So that's the other thing you may not do as a parent. But there's all these logic problems. So when there's quiet
monsters, let me see if I got this right. Yeah. Bring the shotgun. Don't have a baby.
Yeah.
Oil the hinges.
Yeah, and then there's logic problems like you see, like you're supposed to understand that society collapsed and we were unable to fight these monsters. Like there's notes on like the newspaper clippings, monsters like indestructible, like can't find weakness, and then I'm like, oh no, the shotgun worked pretty well, and it seems like that worked okay. Yeah.
There wasn't a headline. Use a shotgun.
Yes, yeah, there wasn't. So, so you have all these problems with the film. But like I said, it's such a mixed bag because, the concept is so cool. The premise is so cool. The directing is so cool. The acting is good with the exception of the character motivations. But you have because Krasinski and Blunt are husband and wife in real life, there's a chemistry between them that you don't often see in movies too. So, and then the other thing that they did was one of the kids is actually deaf. Millicent Simmons. She'd been deaf since infancy, and this is her second film she starred in, with Wonderstruck being her first. And she did a really nice job in the film, and it made sense that, they... So it was, like I said, it was a real mixed bag. Like, if you can really overlook the giant logic and plot holes in this movie, especially the ending I went, oh my God, no, really? But I don't want to ruin that. But... so it was one of those movies where I think it's as time progresses, more and more people are going to realize how kind of dumb some of it is.
Well, let me ask you this. So if you look here on the box office was estimated $17 million. It's done, looks like now over 70 million.
Huge numbers.
Which is making it huge.
Right.
Is this because usually low budget horror in this range doesn't have two fairly named stars in it.
No.
I mean, she's become a big star.
And
is he, but...
One of the things that this movie has going for it is it's like Get Out, it transcends the genre. It's not just like a horror movie. It's science fiction. It's thriller. It's a family drama. It's all those things kind of rolled into one. So what I think you have is a lot of non-horror fans, like they went to go see Get Out, they're going to go see this movie because they're Emily Blunt fans, they're John Krasinski fans, or they, it's an interesting premise. It's got a lot of hints of Signs. Remember that M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie? It's definitely, there's even like a couple shots from like, this looks like it came directly from Signs. So it was, if you can overlook the
multi-genre is working now because now you don't have just the one genre anymore. Everything is just like,
and ultimately, if
romance horror, just like
if you can do it well, you can create a really interesting movie. Like Get Out proved that. And there's also been horror movies like The Babadook who kind of like are really interesting and do different things with the genre. This is definitely one of those films that it's just you could just drive a truck through some of the plot stuff in it where you're like, come on.
I would love to be in the writing room.
Yeah.
Especially when the kill your babies.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see that conversation.
Yeah.
I wonder,
kill your babies.
I want to know.
That's good.
It's a good point though that Shishonia brings up about the mixed genres and how I wonder what's creating that. And I get why they're successful because it's like
because they have crossover appeal.
Sure, they have crossover here, but also it's just I think it's my guess of it is maybe Hollywood is so can get so old and out of touch that they get stuck in these, well, it's a this movie or it's a that. Right. And when someone comes up with something inventive, especially in this era of people who have grown up without watching network TV, who, you know, if you're at 18 or whatever, you've had the internet since you were 3, you've had a smartphone since the 6th grade, you know, and that's where you get your entertainment. So why you don't need, you grew up in terms of just content, not, oh, let's go see the horror movie or let's watch this movie or this show at this time.
Yes.
So I guess that's why it appeals to people, is because it can be anything. And then also, if you've grown up with just content, you're seeing inventive stuff on YouTube, on Amazon, on Netflix or whatever.
You know, it's funny. It's like the dumb parts of this movie. I thought, oh yeah, I could see them in a Cloverfield, shoot into a Cloverfield spinoff, the way like the Cloverfield Paradox or something like that, where they're like, oh, okay, this is shoehorned in. And it doesn't really fit or belong. Like, there's other ways the story could have gone and other things the characters could have done to make more sense for this world, but it didn't happen. So I think in conclusion, I think I'm going to be the outlier on this. A lot of people are loving it all the way through and forgiving the flaws. I thought the flaws were way too big. But there is a lot to like in this movie. I think Krasinski did a good job. The acting's good. And if you can get past the gaping plot holes, you can enjoy 75% of the film. So
that's a big ask.
Yeah.
So Corey Kolkman on Facebook just asked, what else has he directed? And I heard it was his first horror movie. Yeah, this is John Krasinski's first. He's directed.
Are you getting live feedback, Graham?
We're getting live feedback. That's the advantage of the Facebook Live. So if I click on this John Krasinski link.
Yeah, it's definitely his first horror, but he's directed before.
He's directed some episodes of The Office, obviously, and he's directed one other, Brief Interviews with Hideous Men and The Hollers, which I don't know what either of those are, but they sound...
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
You saw The Hollers?
I didn't see it, but I remember watching the trailer for it, and it's probably the same.
A man returns to a small hometown after learning his mother has fallen ill and is about to undergo surgery. John Krasinski. All right. Sharto Copley, Richard Jenkins.
Charlie Day.
I
don't know anyone who's seen this movie.
No? Cool. Came out in August of 16.
Yeah. So, but, you know, it's an interesting thing. It's like, it made me want to see his next film. Like... You know, that kind of thing where, like, okay, well, he's done comedy dramas. Now he's done horror. Like, now that he's got these under his belt, I can't wait to see what he's going to do next and see what he's going to mix or what he's going to do. So even if it's another horror movie, I'm on board. I would see it.
Sweet.